Almost everyone has heard this advice. If you want to eat healthier, cut out white rice and switch to brown rice. We've been told brown rice has more fiber. It's more natural, better for your blood sugar. But there's one critical question. Does your body actually respond that way? Or is this just another popular nutrition belief? Because here's the truth. Your body does not care about marketing. It does not care about trends. It only responds to molecules. Today, we're not guessing. We're not relying on food labels. We're measuring what actually happens inside the human body using a continuous glucose monitor. This device measures blood sugar every few minutes, which means we can watch, almost in real time, how the body reacts to food. And today, we're testing 3 different rices: white rice, brown rice, and cauliflower rice. 3 separate days, the exact same meal, 1 variable changed, and 1 simple question: which one truly causes the biggest blood sugar spike? And maybe more importantly, is the difference as dramatic as we've been told? Why post-meal blood sugar matters. When you eat carbohydrates, your digestive system breaks them down into glucose. Glucose enters the bloodstream. Your cells use glucose for energy. This is normal. This is necessary. But the problem begins when blood glucose rises too quickly and too high. When that happens, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin acts like a key. It allows glucose to move from your blood into your cells. But if blood sugar spikes repeatedly, day after day, year after year, your cells can begin to respond less effectively to insulin. This is called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is one of the central drivers of prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, fat accumulation, chronic inflammation, and long-term metabolic dysfunction. This is why metabolic specialists focus heavily on something called a glucose spike, a rapid, high post-meal rise in blood sugar. And that's exactly what we're measuring today. Rice, a global staple. For billions of people worldwide, rice isn't optional. It's foundational. In many cultures, a meal without rice barely feels like a meal. But biochemically speaking, rice is primarily starch. Starch is simply long chains of glucose molecules. When you cook rice, something important happens: starch gelatinization. Heat and water break down the crystalline structure of starch, making it easier for digestive enzymes to access and break apart. In simple terms, cooked rice becomes highly available glucose. Once it reaches your digestive system, it's rapidly broken down and absorbed. And that's where blood sugar spikes begin. But not all rice is processed the same way. And that brings us to the debate: white rice versus brown rice. White rice versus brown rice. What's the real difference? Both white and brown rice come from the same grain. The difference is processing. White rice has the bran and germ removed. This makes it softer, quicker to cook, and longer lasting on the shelf. But it also removes most of the fiber and some micronutrients. Brown rice retains the bran layer. That outer layer contains fiber. Fiber slows digestion. And in theory, slower digestion means a slower glucose rise, which is why many nutrition guidelines promote brown rice as the healthier option. But here's the real question. Does that fiber meaningfully reduce the blood sugar spike in a real human body? Or does it just slow it slightly? There's only one way to know: measure it. Cauliflower rice, the modern alternative. In recent years, cauliflower rice has become extremely popular. Technically, it's not rice at all. It's finely chopped cauliflower shaped to resemble rice grains. Why is it so popular? Because it's dramatically lower in carbohydrates. 1 cup of traditional rice can contain 40–45 grams of carbohydrates. 1 cup of cauliflower rice contains only a fraction of that, which theoretically means minimal glucose impact. But again, we're not relying on theory. We're testing it. The experiment protocol. To make this experiment as controlled as possible, strict rules were followed. 3 separate days, same time of day, similar activity levels, same portion sizes. Each meal included grilled chicken, steamed vegetables, and 1 specific type of rice. Only 1 variable changed. Day 1, white rice. Day 2, brown rice. Day 3, cauliflower rice. A continuous glucose monitor tracked blood sugar every few minutes. This allows us to observe baseline glucose, rate of rise, peak level, time to return to baseline. This is not opinion. This is physiological data. Day 1, white rice. Before eating, baseline glucose was around 90 milligrams per deciliter. For the first 15-20 minutes, very little changed. Then the curve began to climb. Within 30 minutes, around 140. Within about an hour, approximately 165. That's a significant spike. At that point, the pancreas must release a substantial amount of insulin. Insulin drives glucose into cells. But high insulin also promotes energy storage, including fat storage. And often, after a sharp rise, comes a sharp drop. Many people experience this as sudden fatigue, hunger, brain fog, cravings. This cycle, repeated chronically, contributes to metabolic strain. Day 2, brown rice. Baseline glucose, approximately 92. After eating, glucose began to rise again, but slightly slower. Around 30 minutes, roughly 130. Around 1 hour, approximately 150. Yes, the spike was somewhat lower than white rice, but the spike was still significant. Insulin still needed to respond aggressively. So while brown rice performed better than white rice, it did not eliminate the glucose spike. It moderated it. Slightly. Day 3, cauliflower rice. Baseline, around 90. After eating, glucose remained remarkably stable. It rose slightly, around 95, maybe 100, and returned smoothly to baseline. No dramatic spike. No sharp peak. Why? Because cauliflower contains minimal starch. Very little glucose is released into the bloodstream. The pancreas doesn't need to panic. Insulin doesn't surge. Metabolic stress is minimal. Scientific interpretation. What does this experiment actually show? First, white rice produced the highest glucose spike. Second, brown rice performed modestly better, but still caused a significant rise. Third, cauliflower rice had minimal impact on blood sugar. This does not mean everyone must eliminate rice immediately. Human metabolism varies. Athletes, highly insulin-sensitive individuals, and metabolically healthy people may tolerate carbohydrates differently. But for individuals with insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, central obesity, or metabolic syndrome, frequent high glucose spikes can accelerate dysfunction. And that's the real takeaway. Your body doesn't respond to food labels. It responds to glucose. Here on DiaSync, we don't rely on assumptions. We test. We measure. We analyze. Because the more you understand how your body truly responds to food, the more power you have over your long-term health. Now, I want to hear from you. Which type of rice do you eat most often? White, brown, or cauliflower? Drop it in the comments. And if you want us to test another food using a glucose monitor, comment "test it." Tell us what you want to see next. If this video gave you clarity, hit like. Share it with someone who believes brown rice is automatically harmless. And subscribe to DiaSync. Because metabolic health isn't about fear, it's about awareness. And awareness changes everything.